take the D-lister out of the D-lister? Yes, oh yes, Meghan Markle once again arranged a paparazzi stroll in Montecito, this time on Prince George's birthday, and she went out with Kimberly Williams-Paisley, wife of Brad Paisley. And what's interesting about these series of pictures, and there's quite a few more on the Daily Mail, is that it's very, very clear that Meghan Markle 100% knows the cameras are there because she is smiling pretty much in every single picture. But of course, poor Kimberly Williams definitely is not. There are a lot of unflattering pictures of Kimberly Williams. Why? Oh, why? Because Meghan arranged for the photo shoot. She 100% most likely, in my opinion, arranged for the photo shoot. So why did she do that? Well, it's just in part is that Meghan Markle can never get away from this desperate need she's had ever since being a D-lister star to grasp for any semblance of attention from the paparazzi. Meghan has been clamoring to be stalked by the paparazzi ever since meeting Harry. The whole letter the palace dropped was about her being stalked. They have a whole section of it in their Netflix reality TV show where they could not find a shred of evidence that Meghan Markle was stalked. Pictures they included were either stock photos taken out of context or two men just standing on her porch looking like they had rung the doorbell and she didn't answer, and so they went away. She can't seem to get this out of her system. And I think it's one of those things where she's always going to be the D-lister status. There is this famous picture we're going to show here of Meghan Markle when she was in London. I believe this was 2015, 16, maybe even 2014, where she had arranged for a paparazzi stroll as she was walking into a restaurant, looking very smug and very, I can't believe the photographers caught me going to lunch. But the poor photographer guy tried to sell the pictures and he couldn't. And Meghan Markle is still in that mindset. We saw this throughout her relationship with Harry, and it continues because Meghan Markle can't let that go. She can't see, for whatever reason, that she no longer, to a certain extent, is D-lister status, yet she still acts like it. And I think, again, this is just going to come back to bite her in the butt because this is not what most A-lister celebrities do. They value their privacy. They hate when paparazzi are there taking their pictures, yet Meghan Markle seems to relish in it. And so we are going to talk about this today. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, my name is Brittany. I provide y'all compelling royal commentary. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, I would absolutely love to have you back. And I have super exciting news as well, because I have done now 3 tours with people who follow this channel, who want to talk about royals, culture, history, so many things. We have gone to London and the Cotswolds. We've gone to Germany and Austria. We just got back from Scotland. I had a bit of travel kerfluffle, so I may still be a bit slow. But what's really exciting is that we have confirmed Germany and the Czech Republic for Christmas time. So we are going to be exploring the Christmas markets. And what is so fabulous is that I have people who have been on the London leg, the Germany-Austria leg, and the Scotland leg, all on this trip. People, guys, are going multiple times because these trips are so fun. You meet so many great people who often have the same interests as you, especially in royalties. You get to talk about Harry and Meghan. You get to experience some really, really cool things in regards to history and checking out. I mean, we have some amazing pictures from the Highlands in Scotland and going up to the Isle of Skye. It was an amazing trip. It was an amazing trip. I've been sharing some pictures for the members, and I'll share some on the main channel as well here in a bit. But I'm so excited that we have confirmed this trip, so it is going ahead. So if you are interested in coming and seeing the German and Czech Republic markets with us and enjoying just some great festivities in another country, but being back in time for Christmas, feel free to check the link out up above. And I did want to give a shout out to Ana Lucia Diamonds as well. I'm wearing my butterfly pendant today, which has pave diamonds on it, which is so pretty because I have gold buttons and I needed gold jewelry. So I pulled these out. I also still have my studs, which I wore it throughout the entire trip, and they did great because I love, again, classic stud. You can't go wrong. And these particular ones aren't available, but there'll be some available here, and I will post a link up above as well because I'm so excited. I spent some time there getting some great images of my eternity band, and so it's just absolutely amazing. I can't wait for you guys to get your own Ana Lucia diamond jewelry because it is absolutely amazing. And if you do use code ROYAL20, you shall save 20%. Okay, so on to these series of pictures. These came about while I was traveling. I think I was at the airport in Edinburgh when I first saw the pictures, and I was like, oh, darn. And of course, our flight got canceled yesterday, so I didn't make it home until very early this morning. But I was looking at these pictures, and I think especially the ones from the Daily Mail, and I was just shocked by how bad Williams-Paisley looks. Not because she looks bad, but it's just so incredibly clear that she had no idea, or probably didn't have any idea, that the cameras would be there. And there's just some interesting things about this whole dynamic, which I find absolutely hysterical, because Meghan Markle donned like 50,000 pounds worth of jewelry to this little lunch. And Kimberly's husband is worth like 2 or 3 times what Harry and Meghan's net worth is, and she is not flaunting nearly that cash. And Meghan Markle is so nouveau riche. She is so desperate to be seen as wealthy and elitist and everything. And it just comes across so bad. And it's terrible, terrible branding, by the way, as she looks to launch American Riviera Orchard. Because one thing you want to do is, the whole thing about royalty is that royalty is elite. You can only be born into it or marry into it. Those are the only 2 options, at least in this modern day. And so Megan's in the elite of the elite. And she should be, if she's trying to launch a lifestyle brand, try to make herself more approachable to the everyday person, and wearing $50,000 worth of jewelry and having a Dior handbag as you go to lunch with a friend with a paparazzi in tow is not generally the way to do that. But let's look at these pictures, especially from the Daily Mail. And so it says Meghan Markle dons $245 shirt and 12,800 pound Cartier necklace. And we've seen this before at the Invictus Games. So here's Megan's look. And obviously, she is again cosplaying Diana because she has no sense of style of her own. And everything she chooses, I think, is sort of terrible. I hate her obsession with wearing oversized button up shirts. I don't think they look good on her. And I don't know why she insists on doing that, but she thinks it looks classy. So that's why she does it. And there is Kimberly. Now, Megan, you can tell here, smiling, smiling. And she also has her Duchess of Sussex Dior handbag because, she needs to have embroidered with, it's like DSS DOS or something like that. And it's like Duchess of Sussex. So like, are you serious right now? It's like so lame. Other royals like Queen Maxima, the Netherlands, who's an actual queen, just has Maxima on her bag, Megan. She doesn't have Queen Maxima. Why? Because she's normal. I mean, for the most part. So let's see. Kimberly, I would say here, I would say this is a nondescript, probably pretty cheap little bag here. So you have this wild discrepancy with a woman whose husband's net worth is double or triple the size of Harry and Meghan's, looking very, very relaxed, and I think probably a very affordable ensemble. Meanwhile, Meghan is dressed to the elite of the elite with her like $20,000 Lorraine Schwartz evil eye bracelet and the Cartier necklace. And I mean, she's going so over the top. You can just feel the cringe of her trying so hard. And so this is totally a 90s knockoff Diana Carolyn Bessette look, which again, Meghan really needs to get away from that because it's not flattering on her, I think. So she gives Kimberly a thumbs up as she goes. And you see this smile, big smile. You can see the veneers. And she's looking pretty much directly at camera. So Meghan knows, and you can probably see, I don't think you could see totally, but I wouldn't be surprised here if her eyes are also still angled at the paparazzi guy. She knows he's there. It's why she's smiling like this. As soon as she hits the door, she knows the camera guy is there. So she is smiling and grinning like all can be. And she does this all the time. It's actually hard to find pictures of her when I want to do particular videos. I pretty much buy all my pictures. And I like doing that in part because I can find pictures that sometimes don't make the mainstream media, because sometimes they use the same picture time and time again. And it's hard to find a different expression on her because Meghan never stops smiling. And smiling is great. But the thing is, most royals have sort of natural reactions. So they're smiling. They have their standing face, whatever that happens to be. They have grimacing, that like they have a bunch of different reactions, but this is always Meghan. She knows the camera's on her, so she has to smile. She can't seem to not do that. And again, with her and Harry, with him being grumpy as all get out, down here, and she's grinning like a madman up here. Their emotional resonance is totally off in pictures oftentimes. And I find it a bit frustrating in some instances because it's like, to me, it just screams that she's wearing a mask. She's wearing a mask because she doesn't really, her expression just never seems to change all that much. So again, let's go Chanel ballet flats, of course. So Kimberly, of course, is well known for Father of the Bride. So we have her here with, what's his name again? I can't remember. Steve Martin, there we go. And so they are at Trey Loon. And so here we get to Kimberly adjusting her bag, looking very normal here. I don't know how expensive that necklace is, but it doesn't look like something super pricey, you could say. And Meghan Markle again wearing 50 plus $1,000 of like jewelry that she doesn't really have to wear. She likes to be flashy. That's the thing. Meghan Markle is very flashy. And so she's not totally smiling here, but again, oh my gosh, I hate this ensemble. It's just so boring and predictable at this point. She just doesn't really have a sense of style. And so again, smiling, and poor Kimberly right here looks terrible. Why? Because Kimberly probably wasn't aware that Meghan Markle called the paparazzi on them. And this was a setup paparazzi stroll. Because if you are setting up a paparazzi stroll, you want to look better than this. And you want to look more like you can say, like Meghan, I guess, if the whole purpose is to get attention. And that's clearly what the purpose is here. So Meghan again, just grinning, grinning, grinning. Kimberly looking normal. And then Kimberly's, smiling as she adjusts her bag here. Again, that's sort of a natural expression. Meghan, of course, smiling. Smiling. Kimberly, again, not looking so great right there. The lighting isn't great, you could say, but she's having a more, I would say, normal reaction than to Meghan, who's grinning because she knows the camera's right there and she can't not grin when the camera's on her. She can't not do it. So there's where she's kind of not grinning. And then, but you can see as soon as she hits the doorway, she knows she's on as soon as she hits the doorway. And again, this is all for flash, little substance, little substance. And maybe Kimberly kind of sort of knows right there, but I just don't think necessarily she does. I do like her blue dress there. That's not bad. And she's just adjusting, and Meghan's smiling to the guy. And Meghan, of course, can't not touch people. She has this incessant need to touch everyone. And so she's, helping usher Kimberly along because, Kimberly needs the help. It's not like she's a fully functioning independent woman. She needs Meghan Markle to help her out. And then, oh my gosh, Meghan looks so 90s. It's just a terrible look. Oh, I hate those jeans. Oh my goodness. Awful. And so I think Kimberly looks cute here. And so again, Kimberly doesn't look great. Meghan's grinning at whoever that is. And so it looks like they may have gone to the same car. They may not. It's unclear. And they got to decide who goes where. Again, another angle. Meghan smiling. And again, this is all for show. This is all for show when it comes to Meghan. And again, not a great look from Kimberly. Meghan obviously is well reacting to something, but Meghan also needs security guards to get her into the car. There's like no security risk in Montecito. Meghan has driven herself around. Why does she need her security guard to escort her in and out of the car? I mean, the amount of money they waste on security is absolutely ridiculous. It's just there to feed their ego. It exists for no other purpose. And so again, so many pictures of this whole thing. It's just kind of ridiculous. And she's got the security guy to help her in because she needs the help, guys. She's at such a high risk, even though the guy who attempted to assassinate President Donald Trump was looking up Catherine, the Princess of Wales. No. Meghan's at a greater security risk. The guy, I mean, we don't know the context at all. But I find it interesting that he's looking at someone who is in the United Kingdom, far away from him. Yet Meghan Markle's right there and he doesn't seem to care. Why? Because she's unimportant. She thinks she's so important, but she's not. She's a woman who lunches, guys, and we'll get back to that. And so we're almost here. It looks like they're almost getting in the same car. But again, not a great look for Kimberly. And then the situation, you could say, gets more interesting. Why? Because People magazine now has an exclusive on this interaction. Inside Meghan Markle and Kimberly Williams-Paisley's low-key pasta and wine lunch date exclusive. And now this tells you everything because People magazine is essentially a PR puff piece anymore. They don't really do, I would argue, my personal opinion, hard-cutting journalism, especially about celebrities. They basically regurgitate what the celebrity PR person tells them. And so in this instance, somebody told them, probably Harry and Meghan's team, that they had pasta and wine lunch date. The woman who said she doesn't want to be a woman who lunches literally leaks a story about her lunching. So let's get into this because this was interesting. It was a lovely lunch date for Meghan Markle and Kimberly Williams-Paisley. And you got to wonder, did Kimberly realize that this little meeting would end up in People magazine? The Duchess of Sussex and the actress, activist, and author, 52, dined together at Treloon in Montecito on July 21st. Prince George's birthday as well, where the pair caught up over pasta and wine. A source exclusively tells People they had a lovely experience chatting and laughing together. The pair was low key and left unbothered by the other guests, probably because they didn't really care. The only one who cares is Meghan in her own mind. Like the level of narcissism here is incredibly profound. This is just dumb. But it tells us something about Meghan, which is that she has been a D-list actress, and in her mind, she still is behaving as if she is a D-list actress, because this is what D-list actresses do. This is not what real celebrities do. This is not what royalty does either. This is the behavior of someone who is desperate for fame and attention and can't quite seem to get there. And they do this because they have nothing else to offer but their image. They have nothing else to offer but themselves as a sacrificial lamb because they have no depth, they have no talent, and so they must resort to these sorts of things because this is all they got. And it goes on to say, though they were not previously photographed together before they were seen leaving Treloon, the two have a lot in common, both personally and professionally. Both women are alumni of Northwestern University. And it goes on to share, about their acting history and that Harry and Paisley may have gotten connected through Stand Up for Heroes. In another tie, both couples share commitment to paying it forward with a shared drive to address food insecurity. Harry and Meghan found a nonprofit Archwell Foundation, which does absolutely nothing and nobody cares, in 2020 to serve as an umbrella for their philanthropic efforts, which are dismal at best. Has partnered with chef Jose Andres World Central Kitchen since December 2020 to feed communities negatively impacted by humanitarian crises. The groups have worked together to build 4 community relief centers around the world, yada, yada, yada. And in order to fight food hunger, Paisley's established a store in Nashville. It's a referral-based grocery store that offers free food to families experiencing poverty in the Nashville area. Again, goes in a bit about their history. She shares a bit about, her dream to create this nonprofit. This is Kimberly. The Italian restaurant where Williams, Paisley, and Meghan went to lunch on July 21st is in Montecito, the same neighborhood where the Duke and Duchess live with Archie and Lilibet. Last summer, Harry and Meghan had a date night at Treloon a few days before Meghan's August 4th birthday. Ooh. And so it goes on to say, Harry and Meghan have had a quiet summer since their return trip to Nigeria in May because they don't really have anything else going on, or they desperately need to do things because they need to make money because the money's starting to run dry because it turns out they don't really have a ton of talent in the industry. The visit was significant as the Duke and Duchess's first international trip since relocating to the U.S. in 2020. It wasn't. Their first international trip, you could argue, was Jamaica, Canada, and they can't really do an official visit because there's nothing official about them, People magazine. They are basically cosplay royals with no official role whatsoever except for their own business interests. And then Meghan in that, oh gosh, awful, awful article about their Nigeria tour, which was terrible because there was no depth to it whatsoever. Like literally zero substance to that article. She says, oh, we're doing just great and happy to be watching our family grow up and evolve. Of course I'm happy. We're really, really happy. And I don't think I caught on to this before. She says, I'm happy. I'm happy. We're really happy. So at first it's all about her being happy. And then, oh yeah, we're really happy too. It's all about her being happy. So that's the end of the article. But it's really rather telling because there's no reason for this article to exist. 2 women had lunch together. Who cares? What's interesting is that somebody felt the need to leak a bit of details about it. Like, I don't care that they had pasta and wine. It's an Italian restaurant. I could guess that. I don't need you to tell me. That's just dumb. But that's Meghan's level. At her hearts of hearts, she's still a D-list actress, desperate for fame and attention, desperate for the paparazzi to chase her, which she's never really had because they don't really chase her. That's why she has to call them to chase her. And I will say again, once Montecito, with traffic, depending on the day, 2 to 3 hours outside LA, one way. And the paparazzi are not going to go there unless they are absolutely positive they're going to get a shot of something they can sell. 100%. They were called and told Meghan Markle is having lunch with Kimberly Williams-Paisley. You should head up there and get pictures and sell them because, you know, that's what Meghan Markle wants. And again, I only say that in part because Meghan is, you can tell, directly reacting to the camera. Kimberly has a resting face, whereas Megan is grinning ear to ear. So either Megan's resting face is grinning ear to ear, or she is absolutely sure there's a camera there and she wants to make sure they get her best look, which is her smiling. That's why she does it. She can't help but do it. And this is the thing about Megan as well. She wants to portray herself as a woman of great depth, that she's so smart and cerebral and all these sorts of things. And yet, what we see seemingly her do most oftentimes is lunching, or at least when her paparazzi strolls come up. It's lunching. And Megan's whole thing on the TIG one time was saying, I don't want to be a woman who lunches. But that's what you're doing, Megan. You're literally selling stories about you lunching. There's no depth to that story. There's no connection. There's nothing even to report except for two people who have some similar philanthropic interests had lunch. There's no, we're having a project together. We're doing this, we're doing that. Nothing of the sort exists. All it says is that two people had lunch and wine and pasta at an Italian restaurant. Like we couldn't figure that out ourselves, that was probably the two things they got at that restaurant were pasta and Italian at an Italian restaurant. Again, the level of obvious here is profound, but it's the need to share these details that I just find absolutely fascinating and very much an indication of Meghan's character. Meghan Markle is someone who can't help but be just so incredibly desperate for attention. She really, really can't help it. She can't. She totally and completely cannot help it. She wants attention so badly. And she wants the attention she wants. And she wants that sense that people are just clamoring for her. And it's just not happening. And so she has to manufacture it. It's like their fake paparazzi chase in NYC. Everybody knew that was a joke. Everybody knew that because there's no way you can have an 80-mile-an-hour paparazzi chase in Manhattan. And so when they did that, everybody looked at them and they were joke, but she wants that so bad because part of Harry and Meghan's whole thing is that they need to prove. Part of Harry and Meghan's thing is that they're utterly and completely desperate to prove that somehow that they are a higher risk or a greater priority for security needs than Catherine and William, which is just not the case. The attempted assassination of Donald Trump and the guy who attempted to perpetrate that proved it. It sort of proved it that still Catherine is the bigger name than Meghan Markle. And Meghan just can't stand that. She also has to compete with her nephew and his 11th birthday. He will be king for Pete's sakes. It's just silly nonsense. It's silly nonsense. But again, it goes back to this fact is that Meghan can't take the D-list status out of her. She just can't. She's so desperate for it. She's clamoring for it. She needs it so badly for people to think that she is desperate to be an A-lister. Meghan Markle is desperate for that. She's desperate to be treated like an A-lister. But the dumb thing was there is nothing more A-lister status than royalty. Let's say, we have grades in the United States, A, B, C, D, and F. F is for fail, obviously. And so they skip over E. Let's just say she went from a D to an E. And then it's kind of now back at B, C, D. Why? Because she left the thing that made her unique. There's nothing now unique about Meghan Markle, except for the influence she has on what the future of the monarchy is. That's why partly I talk about Harry and Meghan so much is that they are damaging the monarchy, just ebbing away at it little bits by little bits. People don't think, I'm like, oh no, the monarchy's fine. No, this will have a long-reaching impact. All these little hits they're doing in order to pursue their own agenda is having an effect, especially in the United States. Now, obviously, the United States is not the country that supports the monarchy, but there is a symbiotic influence that does happen between two countries. And so as the status of royalty in the United States devolves because Harry and Meghan are so desperate, it will impact how people see Catherine and William. It just will. It just will. And yes, maybe it's not everyone. Maybe it's not dedicated royal watchers, but the average person, yeah, it'll start to affect them a bit. And that's why it's important to discuss what Harry and Meghan are doing. And Meghan's behavior here. Again, she went from D-list to E-list, you could say. Now she's back in the midst. You could say C-list, maybe B-list. And she was so desperate to hit that Hollywood upper elite, which you could say is the A tier. But she's sort of falling short with these stunts like this because all of Hollywood knows that she arranged that. Like, they're not dumb. They all know. They all know. And they're not impressed because Meghan Markle claimed that she doesn't want to be a woman who lunches. And yet here she is being a woman who lunches, calling the paparazzi, and then sharing later a story with People magazine about being a woman who lunches with very, very little substance. And she obviously loves the attention. Real Hollywood types, mostly, I would say, especially real creatives, are just not interested in the attention. I'm going to show you guys a series of pictures. Now, this is indicative of everyone every time. But what you'll notice is that real A-listers and real actors don't really look at the camera. They kind of avoid it. They kind of try to do their own thing. They try to live their lives. Now, there's some people I would say in the A-list that kind of bridge this line. I would say Taylor Swift is one of them. I think in certain instances she doesn't want the attention, but in other times she is very clearly trying to send a message, like when she was hanging out with Sophie Turner, who was Joe Jonas's ex, who is also an ex with Taylor Swift. That was a very clear message. And Taylor Swift shows a lot of messages through the people she hangs out with, the pictures she takes and everything. And she's showing the status, but it's also kind of sort of an elite status because she's hanging out with supermodels and incredibly gorgeous women. And she has this like whiff squad or whatever. It's very obvious, but Meghan just doesn't really have that. And part of it is that she so lacks talent. She needs to manufacture it. And this is not the way to go about it. Harry and Meghan, and I've said this again and again, it holds true, need to get real big people jobs. They don't really have jobs right now. They're sort of trying to do Netflix, sort of trying to do American Riviera Orchard, failing massively at that in terms of Meghan. Harry is just like after his book Spare, like he is just who knows what that guy is doing because he doesn't really have a job. Now he's doing a documentary again where he's complaining about the media and claiming all sorts of crazy things about his family, which we'll cover again tomorrow. But Meghan Markle here has nothing to sell. So she must sell herself as a woman who lunches, basically being a hypocrite because she has nothing else. She should have had American Riviera Orchard ready to go on March 14th or whenever it was that she launched it, but she didn't. And now we have to wait for this show to show up at some point. And yes, maybe Kimberly Williams-Paisley will be on it. But the thing about Hollywood is too, is that it's all friendships of conveniences. There's very few true friends in Hollywood in many ways. And because of that, this lunch in some ways doesn't really mean anything. Because when push comes to shove, I really doubt Kimberly is going to be standing with Meghan. Very few people do. Why? Because it's just not worth it. Meghan is not meet lunching here with Oprah Winfrey or Gwyneth Paltrow or Cameron Diaz or really some of the movers and shakers in Hollywood. I would say Kimberly is about her level. And why is Meghan only getting you could say a meeting with Kimberly? Because that's all she could get. That's all she could get because I don't mean this in a bad way because obviously Kimberly's husband is very well known, but Kimberly is, B-list, C-list tier, I would say in Hollywood, where she's well known, but she's probably not really a great actress. She hasn't had, you could say, great roles except for The Father of the Bride, which is, 30 plus years old now. And so in that respect, Kimberly has influence, but I would say it's minimal and mostly probably located in Nashville, not really in Montecito or in LA. And so that this is the meeting Meghan could get tells you a lot about how the rest of Hollywood treats her, which is sort of a pariah because she hasn't proved herself yet. She's sort of a joke. She's sort of a laughing stock, you could say, because I can't imagine anybody watching what Gwyneth Paltrow did with Goop is looking at American Riviera Orchard going, oh man, Meghan, that's great of Meghan. No, they're laughing at her. There's no way you can't not be laughing at her, just even from a business perspective, because it's a horrible business strategy. And so you look at all this together and it's just, Meghan can't seem to ever let her D-lister status go. She is still that woman paying the paparazzi guy to take her pictures, desperate that he can sell them because she's finally made it, only to find out nobody's willing to buy them because no one cares. The only reason people care about Meghan Markle right now at all is her connection to the royal family and her using and abusing her royal titles. That's the only reason. She hasn't given them any other reason, really. Why? because she lacks talent. She lacks conviction. She lacks a sense of self. She lacks purpose and direction. This is another thing where I would just say again that their branding is all over the place. We don't know what Harry and Meghan stand for. She says she doesn't want to be a lady who lunches and then sells a story about her lunching. Harry wants to be the savior of Invictus Games, and yet is probably running it into the ground in many ways, in my opinion. So it's like they are constantly jumping from thing to thing. It's like, oh, we're interested in food insecurity now. It's like, well, I guess I kind of knew that, but their messaging, branding, everything is so off. These lunches do nothing to help her. She needs to have substance. And lunching with Kimberly Williams-Paisley, yes, it gets you a article in People magazine, which fulfills your D-lister need for attention, but it's not going to make Netflix stick with you. It's not going to make you millions of dollars. What is actually creating good products, which they failed to do so far. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you oh so soon. Bye.